If you like what we're doing at Echoplex and aren't into Twitch, please join our Patreon at patreon.com/Echoplex. For $5, you can get every show from beginning to end sent to you as an MP3, even the stuff we bleep out because it's too spicy for Twitch. Echoplex would not be where we are today if it wasn't for the community support we receive. Find out all the ways you can support the show at echoplexmedia.com/support.
When they actually spend their time listening to this show, what does it mean? It means we're winning.
I'm white, and I've got everything I need. No one clutches their purses when they're in a room alone with me. And I can drive for any neighborhood I please at any hour, and the police don't do a thing. So if I see a penny on the ground, I leave it alone and fucking flip it. I'm a straight white male in America. I got everything I need. I'm a guy getting paid more than a girl with a degree. And I can walk down the streets after dark, no one wants to rape me. And I can get a girl pregnant and just as easily flee. Just like my straight white male dad did to me. So if I see a penny on the ground, I leave it alone and fucking flip it. I'm a straight white male in America. I've got all the luck I need. I've got a pile of broken mirrors and I'm walking under ladders and I'm spilling tons of salt, but to me that doesn't matter, cause my skin and my gender and my orientation are the best things to have if you live in this nation. I recommend it highly. If I see a penny on the ground, I leave it alone and fucking flip it. I'm a straight white male in America. I've got all the luck I need. Shit's gonna work out for me, cause I'm a straight white male in America. I've got all the luck I need.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Intellectual Dollar Tree, the show that we did not know whether or not was going to happen this evening. I'm producer Dave. You can find me on Grindr.
I'm HK Perrin. You can find me on Mastodon at hperrin at port87.social. Mastodon handles are weird. They have two @ symbols.
I think you can get away with.
Also, we made a new thing for the store. I made it with an AI image generator. I'm gonna spam it in the chat a little bit here.
Yeah, and we'll show it off a little bit during the post game here, everybody. And we'll be having more AI generated shirts. But this is not a show about AI. This is unfortunately going to be a show about Dave Rubin and Peter Thiel.
Jesus, this is gonna be good.
I mean, good in
and
that.
By good, I mean really bad.
Good in that way that only we and our beloved audience enjoys. Or oh shit, where'd all the viewers go? No, I'm just kidding.
Those parts where there was still progress and where things were still getting better also were somehow distracting us from the lack of progress everywhere else, the ways in which we're not a progressive society. We use the word progressive, gets used all the time, but it doesn't stand for actual progress.
Oh, this is the best part of the interview.
You know, the iPhones that distract us from our environment also distract us from the way it's strangely old. So you're looking at an iPhone while you're riding in a 100-year-old subway that's completely busted in New York. And so there's something about we have some element.
Hold on, no, the subway in New York works hella good. You're wrong. You just don't like it because you're rich and you think it should be fucking gold.
I mean, there are a lot of parts of our infrastructure that need updating, but you know who's not for that?
Libertarians.
Peter fucking Thiel.
But they've been distracting us from the lack of progress or even the outright decline.
That's the best part of the
interview. You could say the
too.
same thing about books and newspaper.
I'm Dave Rubin, live from the local studio here in Miami, and joining me today is the founder of the Thiel Foundation, the co-founder of PayPal and Palantir, Peter Thiel. I could have given you like a whole bigger intro there. Anything else you want to throw in yourself?
It's all good. Generally, the shorter the intro, the more flattering it is. You have super long, you have a 20-page resume for people who've never done anything. So
I was going to say Renaissance man, disgruntled.
Oh my God, look at how shitty that fucking thing they have hanging there looks.
Does look really bad. It looks like that's something you would see in like a tasteless coffee shop.
I was thinking like at a play put on by children.
Just like the most corporate coffee shop with the blandest coffee you could imagine.
The intro gets, the more it suggests.
Which is basically what Dave Rubin is, just as like in human form.
I actually have notes. I never have notes when I do a show, but I was like, I want to cover some new ground and not just get into the political thing that we're always fighting with everybody about. But I thought I'd start because we are here in Miami. You famously left San Francisco, moved most of the operation to Los Angeles. You do have a place in Miami. How do you feel about this?
Incorrect. Palantir and Founders Fund are both still here in the Bay Area.
Sort of movement of people across the country right now and sort of watching people migrate to different places.
They have a wooden floor on the wall.
Very, very different ways.
Oh shit, we're back in a wooden room.
It's surely a very healthy thing that, it's in retrospect, it's amazing that people were as stuck as they were in the places they were in for such a long time. And the history of the U.S. was that this had always been a society where people moved a lot between places, and the mobility, the physical mobility had actually gone down probably a lot for the last 40 or 50 years relative to the 200-year history before that. And so,
is that true? He keeps saying these things about like how I think people probably move around more now than they did 50 years ago.
Yeah, I'm going to guess that that's not true. We could be wrong, but
this is like romanticizing.
It sounds pretty sus.
This is like romanticizing a fake version of the past. He thinks that's pioneer time was like before times. But people died on those travels. You're less likely to die when you move now.
Well, it depends on how much money you have.
And it's probably the jury's still a little bit out whether this is a temporary or permanent feature, but it's surely a healthy recalibration. It's sort of this idea you can always start over in this country, and one of the ways you start over is you move to a new place.
Were you kind of patting yourself on the back that you were the first guy out of San Francisco, and my audience?
Yeah, nobody ever left San Francisco before Peter Thiel. No rich person ever was like, "Fuck this place, I'm going to move to fucking Miami," ever.
As I've posted some videos from recent.
If I recall, San Francisco has had like a lot of people move out of it because the prices got so inflated, but that was offset by the people moving into it.
Right, but I mean, I think Dave Rubin just means like people who like make a big show of leaving San Francisco, which I believe maybe Peter Thiel was maybe one of the first tech people, like the first tech moguls to make a big show of not actually leaving the Bay Area, but just buying the second house somewhere else.
Visit to San Francisco, the way that place has just collapsed under progressive policies is
the Millennium Tower hasn't fallen down yet.
You don't have any employees.
No, it's completely collapsed.
Although you still do.
Last time I was there, it was it's gone, right?
There still are some people, not very many, that still are living in San Francisco proper.
Wait, there aren't many people? What the fuck? What is the population of San Francisco? Oh, he thinks those aren't people because they're not billionaires.
It's over 1 million, isn't it?
I don't know but he's like, there aren't that many people that still live there. I mean, I guess it depends on who you consider to be people.
Or at least hundreds of thousands.
It is really extraordinary. I lived in San Francisco from 2003 to 2018, and it's sort of
805,000.
Yeah, but
that was 2010.
How many of them?
873,000.
How many of them do you suppose Peter Thiel thinks are people?
I gotta think at least one.
But the idea, it took a while for the idea to.
Maybe he thinks Elon Musk is people.
On the slow decay deterioration thing. The homelessness was...
And Elon Musk sleeps in the Twitter headquarters, right?
Circa 2014, 2015.
With his bodyguards?
You started to realize, it's actually getting worse. And they're never going to... It's not just that this is this fake problem that they're taking a long time to fix. It's a fake problem they use to distract from everything else. They're never going to fix it.
So when you're here,
and it's
in
also
Florida,
a real problem.
Well, it's also right. It's
fake. It's real. Nobody lives there.
They either don't seem interested in fixing. Well, what do you think is the answer to that? Is it that they're not interested?
There are a lot of problems that are both real and fake.
Yeah.
So the homeless problem is.
So hold on. In the past 10 years, San Francisco's population has increased by 10%.
Shh.
What the fuck are they even talking about?
Those aren't people. How many of them are worth over 150 million? I'd say a handful.
Yeah, probably a handful.
It's an incredible problem, but it also, you get a sense that it never gets fixed. And so if you talk about a problem that you're never going to fix, then you can avoid talking about all the other problems, like, let's say,
wait a minute. I would suggest to you that Peter Thiel's venture firm, and maybe venture firms of other people such as Mark Andreessen, et cetera, have contributed to the problem of homelessness in San Francisco.
Yes.
I mean,
very much so, yes.
Yeah, that's like a reason that people are don't have a place to live there, is because the influx of tech money, it doesn't actually trickle down. It may if you're an engineer, but maybe not even. Depends on where you work and fucking how where you were at what time and what happened and who fired you, or I don't know, who brought a sink into the place that you worked. I mean, there all kind of shit happens there. It's a volatile industry.
It might trickle down, but it also has a pressure that pushes down, and the people on the bottom get pushed out.
Right. And by out you mean outside.
Yes. Outside, living on the street. They get pushed out of their homes, out of their communities. And then this fucking guy probably wants to push them out of the state even.
Cost of living for out of control rents for people with homes, or broken schools, or crime, or there sort of are probably half a dozen other issues that move to the bottom of the queue as long as we talk about an unsolvable problem.
When you were there, were you trying to talk to them about those things and say, guys, like, look?
Gosh, I wonder what political party is trying to do something about out of control rents. Is it the Republicans?
To be fair, the Libertarians want your rent to be low, but they also don't want there to be building codes so that your house might fall down.
And
yeah,
the state
true.
Of the decay.
Rent's real low because it's made out of cardboard.
Like exit is much more powerful than voice.
Yeah,
it is. It was. I'm not sure it's super corrupt, but San Francisco is super ideological in this very left-wing, very unreformable way, and it would be. It's. I always have a schizophrenic view about getting involved in politics, where it's like super important and super toxic. But getting involved in San Francisco city politics, that would be absolutely an insane thing to do relative to just moving.
You're not enough of a masochist for that.
It's
you just wouldn't get elected. Nobody would listen to you.
I think what he means is, if I tried to run for any sort of office in San Francisco, I would be handily embarrassed, so I should just move.
Heroism's good, martyrdom not so good, and the relative sanity of getting involved in local politics or just moving out of San Francisco. You should always move.
So to that point, one more thing on this. So now you're here in Florida. You have a place
for
here
the winter.
For the winter.
Last few winters,
so you're
yes.
splitting time, and obviously you also have your place in LA. But do you feel?
But LA is not that different than San Francisco. What is he fucking with the fucking libertarian paradise of Los Angeles? What the fuck is he talking about?
Los Angeles is known for its very conservative political atmosphere, right?
Like, he didn't even move to Austin.
It's like one of the biggest major metropolitan areas in the country. It's like super blue.
Yeah.
A real tangible difference when you're here. I mean, I left a year ago, and it's like I have not looked back, and I'm loving it here, and I see
like literally every one of your episodes you talk about having left California, Dave. You are looking back. Did
you know, Dave, that if you took a all 4 of those states that are up at the top of the United States. It's Wyoming, North Dakota, South Dakota, and Montana, I think. If you took all of them, all of the people in those states, added up their entire populations, it would be 1/8 of the population of LA County.
Yeah, I know. It's the way they're talking about this is fucking just detached from reality. Like, you know, a lot of these people, they're like, oh, I'm going to move to Texas, but then they move to Austin, which is just like Portland, right? It's basically Texas, Portland. But this guy moved to LA, and it's like, dude, you're not, it's just San Francisco without the hills.
So incredibly powerful and flourishing here. Do you feel that when you're here?
Well, it has, you know, there is sort of just an extraordinary difference if you're in a place where you just feel it's growing versus not.
Yeah.
And
LA County's also growing, I'm sure.
Florida, Texas.
Again, San Francisco's population has increased by 10% in the last 10 years.
And I imagine
So
LA,
I don't know what these two are smoking.
probably that's the problem, is they both need to take some bong hits and chill the fuck out. But I would imagine that LA County has had similar growth, right? Because it's similar
Probably.
to San Francisco.
Every storefront is full. There are no empty stores. You know, everything. It's not. I'm not sure it's quite booming, but it feels, you know, it feels healthy and growing. And then you know, much of California does not quite have that feel. Even though, of course, you know, Silicon Valley's been this odd place where it was a you know, gold rush and everyone was depressed.
Yeah.
Even so, for the last decade. So the Silicon Valley had a very odd,
Telling on yourself.
a crazy boom that didn't actually feel that way if you know, walk down the street. And then certainly with the COVID shock the last few years, it's quite different. I still think California is probably somewhat healthier than New York or, you know, completely bankrupt states like Illinois or, you know, non-states like Puerto Rico.
Mm-hmm.
But
Non-states like Puerto Rico.
Healthier than New York.
I think
I
think the
I mean,
there are ways
he's not wrong that it's not a state, but it really should be. Puerto Rico has a larger population than several of the states
in California, and probably the very big.
Again, it depends on who you consider to be people.
Google and Apple. It's hard to picture them actually moving out of California, whereas you can picture the big banks gradually moving out of New York. And there's
not going to.
Finance, it's been a little bit more movable.
You know what the big banks are going to
move out of New York?
You know what the investment firms are going to do, HK? They're just going to leave Wall Street.
Yeah, they're just going to move to Montana.
Makes it more dangerous for California because if things ever go wrong, they will be so bust. It'll be
I'm sorry I'm picking on Montana.
that it had these captive big three car manufacturers.
It was asking for it.
Could get away with very bad policies in Michigan, Detroit for decade after decade. And then when that industry finally went south, you know, it was just unfixable. So
do you find that
New York's in a worse shape right now because people are you know, relatively more people are leaving. It's easier for the businesses to leave. And then maybe California, if it's not careful, you know, it will at some point really go off the cliff.
Right. Do you find that these things sort of happen slowly and then very quickly? So something like California, it's like, you know, Cali's lost almost 1 million people in these last 3 years. And a lot of them are high earners. I mean, these are people who are paying into the system that's ever.
You don't know that.
At some point, somebody has to look at numbers, right? And be like, none of this works. Or I guess.
And out of 40 something million, like the population going down by 1 million in 3 years ain't shit. It might go back up by 1 million this year, right?
Right? It just continues somehow, I suppose.
Yeah, I actually, I don't know how many of them were the highest earners in California the last few years. I think New York was a little bit more that effect than California. But yes, these things, you know.
Yes, all the rich people are just leaving Palo Alto, HK. They're just packing up their several Ferraris and leaving Palo Alto. Los Gatos also, too. Everybody's there. Everybody in Los Gatos is like, fuck this place. On people on the hills with them fucking 14-bedroom houses, they're like, I'm out.
It's when you go outside and you don't see all the stores. As soon as you see an empty storefront, you got to get out of there immediately.
We have these odd dynamics where things go on for a very long time. They're not ultimately sustainable, but there's some way I often think that much of the 2000s and 2010s were this weird continuation of the 1990s. The decades, there were things that happened. You had 9/11, you had the global financial crisis, Trump election, Brexit. There were some events that happened in those 20 years, but it was surprisingly little. December 2019, I was reflecting on the 2010s, and I realized there have been no retrospectives on this decade. What actually happened in the 2010s?
What do you mean? Did nobody do a retrospective of the decade? What is he talking about?
I believe there have been several.
So what's going on here is everybody's media diet becomes more diffuse. If ABC does a big "this was the decade," fucking most people aren't going to watch it, right? Because the media, everybody has more places to get media from. So the share of like people watching TV or whatever, the share of people consuming media at all, just a lower percentage of those people are going to be consuming anything by any of the big networks. That's just what's happening. That was especially accelerated in the 2010s because that was when the streaming really got big. So people were like watching Netflix and shit.
Yeah, but also like we're like 3 years out from the decade. So like any retrospective of the decade is going to end with stuff from like 3 years ago.
Yeah. But I just think what's important here is that when we don't have these big cultural television moments anymore. We just don't have them because of how we don't do it. That's not how we consume media anymore. So it doesn't really matter. You know what I'm saying?
Arguably, we never really did. I mean, people remember these like big television moments as if like everyone was watching that, but not everyone had a TV, so not everyone was watching it. And not everyone paid attention to every single network.
Yeah. Like I said, I just think there's more options. And so the odds of a big event being put on by ABC are just, it's like almost impossible now.
I think you're right about that. But like any sort of big event is only going to be viewed by like a couple % of the population.
I wish we had a couple % of the population watching this channel right now. My God.
Thrones, and people fell into their iPhones, and
right.
But then it was somehow just this thing that was sort of a stretched, exhausted version of the 2000s, which themselves were a stretched, exhausted version of the 90s. And then I want to say that in some sense, March 2020 when COVID hits, we finally, a lot of these things finally.
Oh, wait a minute. Also, when maybe some of those retrospectives of the 90s would have come out, instead people were covering a pandemic. Or of the 90s, of the 2010s would have come out. People were covering a pandemic.
Yeah.
Accelerate and we're finally in the 21st century.
So that's actually a great segue to
there was a pretty big
ago,
cultural event going on in the year 2020. I'll give you that.
Right. It may have flooded the channel such that these sort of fawning retrospectives of the decade past either didn't happen, or if they did happen, people were like, "What? What? Why are you trying to show me that? Can you tell me where to get toilet paper, please?"
Once off camera, you said to me, "I wouldn't be a libertarian if any of it worked." And I just thought that line pretty much captures so much of what's happening, even right this moment. You referenced the last 3 years of COVID, where it seems like nothing really works anymore. Our government kind of doesn't work. Our educational institutions don't seem to work. The medical field doesn't seem to work. Is it sort of obvious that they were all not going to work at the exact same time? Or how did this happen?
I mean, I probably could have predicted that if there was like a major medical event or a pandemic, that things would have gone haywire. But it's not the reason they think, and the reason I probably would have predicted would have been like the rise of online conspiracism, and the ways in which that's really easy to monetize. Dave Rubin.
Yep.
Like if you have these big channels of all these supposedly influential people sowing doubt about things that they don't know anything about themselves. then yeah, maybe the impression for people who watch that kind of content is going to be that everything failed because there's money in selling that message to people.
Yeah. I was going to say there are profit incentives to spread conspiracies and to spread content that makes you feel sad or angry, just any sort of like very strong emotion. Like now on social media, like because of, them trying to drive engagement, there are these profit incentives to make content like that. And like the content that's going to make you the most upset will be the content that spreads the farthest.
Well, I'm tempted to say the rot has been building up for a long time. And if you define technology as doing more with
you're the rot though, dude. I agree, but you're the rot.
These institutions, educational, and even healthcare, are kind of the opposite, where you get the same for more or you get less for more. So it's the anti-tech definition.
The billionaire class is the problem.
Well, and what he just said there was that, like, if you define technology as you get more like value for like less, and I think he means either less money or less resources, like that's kind of intangible and kind of hard to measure, because especially if you just try to do it intuitively without a bunch of data, because inflation happens. And so you think, in my day, a candy bar was a nickel. Well, how much was a nickel worth in your day? Like compared to like what a nickel's worth now,
It was worth one candy bar.
Probably, in some sense, the quality of the education is way lower than it was 50 or 60 years ago. The costs are way higher. Mm-hmm. And so you're getting less for more. Mm-hmm. And then there are,
but like how many dollars am I getting for my candy bar now?
People are getting a little bit.
Used to be I had a candy bar, I could only get a nickel.
Double the cost. Mm-hmm. So it's again, a lot of it's sort of like a 80% socialist healthcare system that we have, not 100%, but 80%.
Wait, no, it's not an 80% socialist healthcare system. What the fuck is he talking about?
Yeah, I think our healthcare system is something around like maybe 10 to 15 or no.
Well, I'm not. I don't want to. Like, we're not going to sense make. We're not going to sense make the percentage of the healthcare system that is socialism. But 80% is the wrong number.
Oh, very much so. Very much wrong.
Because you would have to.
I think it's around 30. I could be wrong.
We're not going to sense make. I would rather not sense make the number for the percentage of the healthcare system, but it ain't 80.
Yeah. And like even the parts that are like what he would call socialism, like Medicare, aren't actually socialism, because Medicare is just the insurance part. The healthcare system itself is mostly for profit.
Yep.
That's screwed up with that. So yeah, I think there are a lot of things that had not been working for quite some time. And maybe the interesting question is why people weren't noticing it or something like that.
Yeah, so what do you think that is? Is that just our modern lives? We're staring at our phones all day, we're watching TV shows, and we're just not paying attention to what's going on.
There were still some parts of our society where things were progressing. And there was certainly some maybe narrow cone of progress around computers, software, internet, mobile internet. And then
here he goes again about how like we weren't making any progress.
It's because
this guy is so fucking siloed.
It's because when we think about the past, right? When we're taught about the past, it's taught in a condensed and compressed manner. And when you live in the present, you're living every minute of it. So it feels longer.
Yeah.
Because you got to wait.
But like, let's think about the most ridiculous, like, roofing. All right? Roofing. You think roofing's got to be the same as it was 20 years ago, right?
Mm-mm.
No, it is very much not. We have new roofing materials. We have new roofing like systems. We have solar panels on your freaking roof now.
I mean, we had those 20 years ago, but those were mostly just to heat your pool if you were rich. But
yeah, but now you look out and like tons of people have solar panels
and
that are actually powering their house.
And not for nothing, a lot of house fires used to start because of people's roofs. And now They're making roofing material that you could dump a fucking can of gas and light it on fire, and just the gas would burn. You know what I'm saying? The roof wouldn't even light on fire. Like, but that's the kind of stuff this guy doesn't see as progress, right? Because that's safety stuff for regular people, if he even thinks those are people.
Well, yeah, he just doesn't see any progress outside of his like extremely limited view of the world. Like his view is just, it's limited to like things that personally affect him.
You know, you even think about, do you remember like, you know, in like 2004 or 2005, you'd buy like a sports car, you'd buy like and it would have like a V8 engine and 220 horsepower or whatever. And now you could buy a sports car with an engine that's like half the size, not to even say anything of electric cars, engine that's half the fucking size and has 350 horsepower. And it's like, that's actual progress.
Mm-hmm.
And it gets good gas mileage and shit too. Like these are, but it's all like, this is all stuff that happened incrementally that he doesn't fucking, I think he's mad that he hasn't innovated anything. I think that's what's going on here. He hasn't made any innovations himself, right? When was the last time Peter Thiel innovated something?
I don't think he ever has.
But I mean, he was one of the co-founders of PayPal, and PayPal was kind of a big deal. It like revolutionized online payments, right?
I think PayPal was in the right place at the right time. I don't think he had anything to do with
I'm not asking what you think. I'm talking about what he thinks. He does. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. That's what he thinks. Yeah, for sure. But like, yeah, these things don't personally affect him because he's like ridiculously, like filthy fucking rich. So like, you know, the technology of what goes on your roof to you and me, that's really important. And we'll know when that technology gets better. But to him, he doesn't give a fuck. He just writes someone a check.
We're not going to know right away, but we might find out about it and be like, oh, that's really cool. And he would be like, have you seen my mansion? My roof is made out of a substance you can't afford a pound of.
But like the kind of technology that would affect him personally, being so filthy fucking rich in the past 10 years, sure, it probably hasn't gotten much better. But like the kind of technology that affects us, regular people, has gotten way better.
And not for nothing,
he does not see that.
Not for nothing, we did this before, like just networking, just networking, mobile and wired, and the whole like just networking. Sure, your home internet hasn't changed, but that's because some other rich asshole like Peter Thiel owns Comcast or runs Comcast, right? But like you can get a card for your computer that's a couple $100 that does like 100 gigabit over fiber optic now. Sure, you're not going to wire your house with that because your other devices don't have it, but that's fucking massive. That fucking card probably has the same amount of fucking processor power that a computer did 20 years ago.
Yep. And he did, to his credit, he did say there was very limited innovation in the computer and software space, which is really like, I don't know how he thinks that's very limited. Like computers run the world now.
Things were still getting better, also were somehow distracting us from the lack of progress everywhere else, the ways in which we're not a progressive society. We use the word progressive, gets used all the time, but it doesn't stand for actual progress. And you know, I always say, you know, the iPhones that.
Well, you know what? There's also kinds of music called progressive house and progressive rock, and those aren't actually about technological progress either. So did you know that a word HK could have different meanings in different contexts?
I did know that. I wonder if Peter Thiel has heard that.
You know, distract us from our environment. Also distract us from the way it's strangely old. So you're looking at an iPhone while you're riding in a 100-year-old subway that's completely busted in New York. And so there's something about, we have some elements.
Oh yeah, we don't usually do much with chat during the podcast, but somebody in the chat said, hey, you know, with like kind of cloud services, you could roll PayPal in a month now. Like maybe not at the scale you would need to be at now, but at the scale it was at then. Yeah, absolutely.
If you had the money, you could roll it at the scale you need to be at now.
Like think of like how little it would cost relative to back then to have the kind of compute power to process what PayPal did every day back then.
Yeah.
It's like a data center or like a fairly expensive droplet on DigitalOcean, but not that expensive.
Yeah. Get 2 of them and then you got redundancy. You're golden.
Distracting us from, the lack of progress or even the outright decline. And then there was some kind of crazy crystallizing event like COVID where, you have no science, no rationality.
Motherfucker, they made a vaccine in a year.
What the fuck is he talking? No science, no rationality during COVID. I mean, I will agree that in the White House, sure, there was no science and no rationality. I shouldn't say that. But there was very minimal science and rationality in the White House during that time. But like like you said, they made a fucking vaccine in a year. What the fuck is this guy talking about? It's like he hasn't poked his little head out of the rock he's been hiding under in like 20 years.
To be fair, there's only like 6 of that rock on the planet, and they're each worth like $3 billion. So like I would hang out with that rock too.
You can't. It takes a long time to even get the vaccine approved.
No, it didn't.
All these things, don't work.
Wait, wasn't there what people like him and the fucking people that were on Dave Rubin's show weren't? We could find examples on Dave Rubin's show where people were complaining that the vaccine was approved too quickly, right?
Yes.
In fact, that was one of the grand themes of the IDW, and one of the things we were talking about for a very long time on this show.
Still work relatively better in the U.S. than many other countries, but
there are still people that think
really
any day now, people like you and me that got vaccinated, we're just going to drop dead.
It was the first outside investor in Facebook, and sort of, at the beginning of the tech boom 20-something years ago. Were you thinking?
Wait, the tech boom 20-something years ago, that wasn't Facebook, you fucking idiot. 20-something years ago was pets.com.
Some of that then, or was anyone talking about the fact that we might all get?
I think Facebook was negative 1 years old 20 years ago,
and all of this stuff that everything else will just kind of slide.
20-something years ago, it was negative 1 plus something
of some of that?
years old.
Well, I didn't. I think it's always a little bit unfair to put too much of the blame on Silicon Valley for this, where there was some innovation in Silicon Valley. There was a sense in which it probably was not quite enough. There was this manifesto that my venture capital fund put out back in 2011, where the tagline was, they promised us flying cars, and all we got was 140 characters, and it wasn't meant as an anti-Twitter argument per se. Like Twitter, is a good business. It's good for the several thousand people.
So the thing about the flying cars is there's a problem, and it's fucking gravity and power. Getting a car an inch off of the ground under its own power is energy intensive.
Yes.
Very energy intensive. And if you see how badly people drive in 2 dimensions.
Yeah. There is a reason that you need a pilot's license to fly. And pilot's licenses are not easy to get.
Also, they have a whole air traffic control system, not like a little sign that says drive careful.
Yeah. Like I have a driver's license. It took me like 6 months to get it, and most of that time it was just like, yeah, go out, have fun, make sure your mom's with you.
Right.
And to get a pilot's license, you have to spend like hundreds of hours in the air.
Work there, maybe there were slightly too many, but
or at
least for the several thousand that are left, it's a good business. It's
I would not want to live in a world where there were flying cars.
Transformative in some way, but it wasn't enough to take our whole civilization to the next level. And this was so. I think Silicon Valley was doing some things, but it was not enough. And then there were arguments that it didn't have to all be in Silicon Valley. They weren't building flying cars in Silicon Valley. They weren't building flying cars anywhere else.
Right. So since you mentioned Twitter, let's just do an Elon thing for a second. As you watch the guy buy this thing, obviously you guys did PayPal together and everything else. Do you think he realized what a freaking headache this thing was going to become, and how crazy the product under the hood actually was?
There was probably.
Dave Rubin is like he is an Elon stan. Like, if you're still defending Elon at this point, if you still think the guy is like at all smart, just wow.
The Twitter acquisition, I think that.
Or just broadly speaking, finding that so many of these things are sort of broken under the hood in a way.
I think.
But you're taking his word for it that he means broken under the hood. He probably means the code, the software stack, right?
Yes, that is exactly what he means. Because that's what Elon says. Because Elon is fucking embarrassed about how shit a job he's doing at running Twitter.
And
he has to blame it on the code.
Not for nothing, a lot of that code is like the same open source code that runs every other fucking website, like on the fucking internet. Like,
yeah.
Like, there's not, like, sure, there's proprietary stuff there, obviously, but like a lot of it is just the same. It's the same open source shit that runs everything. And so, like, if he thinks, if they're going to say a majority of it's broken, that means that like all the code that runs everything is broken. And that's, I mean, code is always broken. That's why people are always working on it. Like, that's, it's like your car. Your car is always broken if you don't maintain it. Like, anything is always broken if you don't take care of it, unless it's like the $6 billion rock that he's been hiding under. That's perfect. Impenetrable. Unobtainium.
Had some idea, but probably not the full extent.
Yeah.
Right. There was probably the fact that they were willing to sell Twitter to him should have told him.
No, the reason they were willing to sell Twitter to him is they were like, okay, so our company's probably overvalued. I think it was like $28 or $30 a share. I forget, 35, something like that. He offered $54.20 because 420, and the people who invested in that company, who heavily invested in that company, they said, you know what, that's like a fucking 30% overvalue at least on what the company's actually worth. Let's fucking sell that. And then he tried to back out because he was like, oops, I'm trying to pay too much. Oops. And they're like, nope. Give me the fucking money like the contract says. And then he was like, we're going to go to court. We're going to go to, he's like, we're going to, he was like, we're going to go to court. We're going to go to court. And they go, do you know what a deposition is? And he goes, I think I'm going to try to find the money to buy this company.
Yeah. His mistake was signing the contract. Like, I'm sure a lot of us click agree on those end user license agreements, and we'll put our names on things that we haven't read fully. But if you're buying something big, like say you're buying a car, you should be reading the contract. Or if you're buying a house, you should be reading the contract. If you're not reading the contract, you're going to get taken advantage of. And Elon didn't read the contract.
Or if it's a house, you get like a real estate agent or whatever, and it's their job to parse the contract and make sure everything's kind of airtight for you, right? But with a car, the contracts are pretty boilerplate, and it's not, a car's like a commodity item, so it's not in the dealership's interest if you buy a brand new car to fuck people, right? So you can be fairly confident if you buy a car. Now the bank, on the other hand, but then that's why you go with a that's why you go with a reputable bank that makes a lot of car loans, because again, not in their interest to fuck a bunch of people over, actually.
Yeah, it was definitely in Twitter's interest to fuck over Elon.
Yeah, that was great. Fuck that. That was amazing. you know who I bet didn't put any money into Twitter was Peter Thiel. Like, he was like, Elon was like, hey, you want to help me buy this? And he's like, no. He's like, I like to make money.
I mean, it was just Jack Dorsey, all these other people, it was, they were just these figureheads, and it was, the inmates were running the asylum.
Yeah.
And it was probably on some level, there was some part of it that was somewhat ideological. There was a way that Elon felt like the wrong person ideologically to take over Twitter. But after a decade of the stock going nowhere, they were just completely exhausted.
You know what its biggest price per share jump was? When Elon's dumbass bought it for 30% more than it was worth.
You can only lose money for so long. I don't know that much about business.
They didn't lose money, but they didn't. If you look at the Twitter price, the day at the end of the first day of trading, so you price the IPO, it closes on day one, and I forget what the exact number was.
Oh, I think it was roughly the same, right?
It was roughly the same as at the point where Elon offered to acquire it. So it had gone nowhere in a decade, in a context where a lot of tech stocks had gone up. So I think they were just completely exhausted, and it was sort of a plea for help. And then Elon probably on some level realized it, and on some level didn't realize quite how. But, please take this company from us. And
No. They were like, you offered how much? That's like, I have a bicycle that I like that I paid $1,200 for. Its current value, if I were to try to sell it, maybe $300. Somebody offers me,
give you $2,000 for it.
Yeah. I'd be like, well, maybe like, oh, that bicycle was really fucked up. It looked like they'd been commuting on it for 5 years. Boy, it's a good thing I bought this bike. And there I am counting the $2,000, buying a brand new version of the same fucking bicycle. Like, they didn't plea for help. They were like, he offered how much?
The idea that they were just trying to offload Twitter is so ridiculous. Like, he offered them way more than it was worth. Of course they're going to take it.
Right. In fact, I think the board would have been sued if they did not take the offer, because they're that fiduciary responsibility shit, right? The other fucking stakeholders and shareholders probably would have sued them.
Probably, yeah. Which is a whole nother level of fucked up that can happen in our system we've set up.
Just really, really exhausted. And it probably was some combination of both.
Right. So, all right. So let's shift a little bit. I want to talk to you. One of the things that we've covered an awful lot on my show in the last 2 months is a lot of the globalist stuff and the WEF and the meetings in Davos and all of these things. And I always try to say when I'm doing these things on the show, it's like, I don't have a full sense of how much influence these organizations actually have.
Probably less than Peter Thiel.
Versus just they give these crazy speeches, we all kind of freak out about it, but what are actually the policies? And then on the other hand, you see someone maybe like a Justin Trudeau who seems like he really is incorporating a lot of the policies of the WEF. So as someone that you've been to some of these things over the years, right? Like, what do you make of what actually goes on there? I assume you're usually kind of on the outside, even if you're there, just because of your political leanings.
I went to the WEF 3 times, 2008, 2009, 2013. So I haven't been in about a decade. It is,
you're the perfect person to talk on it then.
Maybe talking some about globalism generally. It is somehow this official ideology. It's in some ways very exhausted. So I think the tide is going out. The high watermark year was probably 2007, and it's been going out in some way for 16 years, but it's been going out very, very slowly. And there are sort of ways that it is, in theory, a borderless, more integrated, more peaceful world is a good world for the 21st century. That's good globalization.
Right.
And then there are all kinds of versions of it that are kind of bad, where it just ends up being, a racket for, dictators stealing money and stashing it in Swiss bank accounts, which probably were Davos. You can think of it as a sort of reputation laundering operation or something like that. Or there are all sorts of versions of it that are, deeply, deeply unhealthy. And I think it has been on this kind of auto.
Yeah, who never hides any of their money, I guarantee, is Peter Thiel. Like, come on, dude. And a Swiss bank account? What is this? What is this fucking... What is this, a fucking James Bond movie from 1983? Like, what the fuck is he talking about? Like, the people don't, you know, it's not ye oldie times where you hide your money in a Swiss bank account. Like, I don't even think you can do that
Well, he's
anymore.
not
I
going to
think
give away the game.
I think the fucking Swiss got wise to what was going on, and they're like, oh, actually, this is bad for our fucking country's reputation. We're not going to be this anymore.
Yeah, but he's not going to give away the game by telling you where the money actually goes.
Fucking Barbados or some shit, right?
Where it just keeps going, even though it's very exhausted.
Is-
I think it's been exhausted for 15 years.
Is that why, in some ways, the rhetoric seems to ramp up, where they really are making it sound like we control you and we are the gods, and it's sort of like hysterical because perhaps there actually isn't. I mean, that would be. I would love that as
a bunch of rich and powerful people get together at a meeting in Davos, where like the catering bill is probably $500 million, and those people think they control the world. Good job, Dave. Good job, Dave. You figured it out. You cracked the code. Yeah, of course those people think they control the world. The catering bill at that thing was $500 million.
here.
Yeah, there probably are all these different vectors of globalization. There's, trade is the movement of goods, movement of people is sort of immigration policy, movement of money is banking and finance, and then movement of ideas is the internet. And so there's sort of you can sort of analyze it in terms of these different sectors, and there were, in theory, all these ways these things should work. In theory, free trade is a positive sum exercise where both sides benefit. I think it was Adam Smith who said, why would anybody ever throw rocks in their own harbor? And then being able to move between countries and places is also something that you might expect to see in a dynamic, healthy world. So there are sort of all kinds of ways these things are, in theory, pretty good, and then in practice they went very haywire. The movement of money piece was in some ways the global financial crisis, where people were sending the money to all these different places all over the world where they had no local knowledge. And
wait, no, that's the last major collapse. That wasn't that, like, my mom and my dad sent their money to fucking Brazil and didn't know what was going on with their money. I mean, my parents had already paid their house off during the last collapse or whatever, but it was no, people took, like, it was all like, in America, it was all the American banks fucking over the American people. They would just look up something called a mortgage-backed security. Yeah, sure, you could buy those if you lived in other countries, but it wasn't that people were just sending their money to other countries and not knowing what was happening with their money. That's cocaine dealer shit. Like,
the banks blew up. And so that you can think of 2008 as the financial part of globalization kind of blew up. And then one version would be, well, it's going to just stop and we're going to stop sending the money. And it sort of got replaced by governments. So if you think about Europe, sort of a mini globalization in the form of the European Union, the EU, and basically in 2007, German savers were voluntarily buying Italian bonds, and sort of this international financial flows. After 2008, nobody wanted to do that anymore, but the Northern European government stepped in and started doing it, and somehow kept that game going for another decade or so. But yeah, my intuition is that it's very exhausted. There's obviously a China version of this where, in 2007, people still talked about globalization as, all the developing countries, and they were going to converge with the developed world, and it was this sort of convergence theory of history. And in some ways, that story got dominated much more by China. And there are ways in which China has been growing, but it's actually not been globalizing. If globalizing means becoming, sort of a Western liberal democracy.
That's not what. No. That's not what like China has been globalizing. Like they trade with everybody because they make everything.
Yeah, but they're not globalizing in the way that he wants the word globalizing to mean.
And like not for nothing, I ain't got no love for the fucking Chinese government or whatever, but it's also like largely not my business. I mean, I care about, the civil liberties and the like lack of freedom that people have in China. I care about some of that stuff, but I mean, I can't care that much, right? Because I can't do anything about it. Can't shoot them.
Yeah.
And so China is actually, this place that hasn't been following that script terribly well. And if the biggest country in the world doesn't fit the picture of globalization, at some point should tell you, the theory is wrong.
Right.
The Fukuyama end of history theory was a version of globalization. And I always say that, in 2000, the end of history itself was obviously over.
But that was a theory about the end of the Cold War. It didn't have anything to do with China and like trade. It was literally a theory about the end of the Cold War.
I think Blake Masters, who you co-wrote 0 to 1 with, I think his line on China was, we thought that we would make China more like us, basically, by having a conversation with China about what's going on with the world, and instead we became more like China. So
well, it sounds like they were more persuasive, Dave.
I take it you probably agree.
We should have just done a long form podcast with China to figure out all this. Actually, that would have solved the problem. And we could start it off by like, isn't it great that we're having this conversation?
With that premise, John.
Actually, I bet diplomacy works a little bit like that. It's probably insufferable.
It has a great deal of very disturbing truth to it, and there's sort of all this, social credit scoring, centralized control, obviously.
Unlike our credit score, which didn't exist till 1989, by the way.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I thought it was older than that.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
Wow.
I knew it as of like 3 days ago, I think.
So I'm older than credit scores.
Yeah, like then the big credit agents, the big Experian and all those companies. Yeah, they all started to show up in the late 80s and early 90s.
We're still very far ways off from China. I wouldn't want to move there.
Can we all agree that it was a bad idea and start over?
Worse than China was 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think it was a one-party communist state in 2012, but I don't think it felt as heavy-handed and as totalitarian as it does now. I mean, there's I don't know what the right metaphor is. It's like the Cylons in Battlestar Galactica, where they've just been the tech is just, it's like all the surveillance tech. Everyone's being monitored at all times in all places.
You run Palantir
now in a way that they were not a decade ago.
So
Palantir
is the white pill version of that it just can't sustain itself long enough. If you surveil people constantly, if you control everything constantly, eventually you cannot maintain that level of control. Something to that effect.
There are, there are stories we like to tell where it's just going to collapse. And they're also very pessimistic. I think those are too optimistic. And then I think there are ones that are, overly pessimistic, where China's just going to take over the whole world and somehow it's more efficient or things like that. And I think both the extreme optimistic and extremely pessimistic stories are probably wrong. It's somewhere in between. And we have to. We should not assume it's going to collapse on its own. We need to think very hard about, how we rise up to the challenge that China represents, and it has all these dimensions: military, technological, economic. It's sort of much more multifaceted than the challenge the Soviet Union was, which was much more military and ideological.
When you say we, is it our political establishment that we are the ones that are going to have to deal with this? Probably what actually is the we as always?
That's a good catch. We is always a very ambiguous word. So it means we conservatives, we libertarians. It means we Republicans, we Americans, and we the Western world, or we all the countries that are not China.
Yeah, or maybe we.
Or maybe the two of us.
Right.
The two of us.
Right. Like so. But
I like that he reluctantly included us in the Western world.
Like in a sense of
all the above.
Yeah,
all
the
above. There probably is. There's always a debate between, let's say, the President Trump's policy was somewhat of a unilateral anti-tough on China policy, and there's obviously a sense where a multilateral approach to China is more powerful and better. It's also hard to pull off, and so multilateralism in theory is good. In practice, you have to always worry that that's almost like a Chinese communist decoy tactic, where they're intentionally encouraging us to be multilateral because they know that will go super slow.
Right. Basically, like having the UN do anything,
or the
at this point,
WTO, or
like
all these multinational agencies that have been semi hijacked.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I think there are ways in which one should start with rethinking it on a U.S. level, and then it's definitely something we need to bring our allies into.
Do you think we have enough sort of, not mental acumen, but do we have enough like juice left in America to tackle things properly? I think that's what
there's an apple juice shortage
right now. That the incompetence is so across the board, and Biden is so either mentally compromised or has the wrong ideas, or his
he reached the right word there.
That we just don't have enough left to do the right thing in the world.
We
at least as it stands,
there are always worries that we have that we're exhausted. But
what does he mean by like do the right thing in the world? Does he mean make decisions for other countries?
Yes, I think so.
I would say that's not the right thing to do.
Depends on what the other country's decisions are, but it's a case-by-case basis, right? And it's since World War II, our history of intervening in world events has been kind of bad.
Yeah. Maybe we should like sit out for a little while and see if things get better elsewhere.
I'll be right back. I got to pee. I never have to get up and pee during the show, but I have to pee. You can just talk over this.
Narrative.
In case people listening on the podcast were wondering, this is in fact actually a recording of a live show. Although if somebody listened to any of these episodes and thought that we edited it, I'd be like, I don't know what you heard.
They were their generation. And then the country was always defined by the age the boomers were. So the 1950s was this innocent childhood time because the boomers were 10 years old. And the late 60s was this great youth movement because the boomers were all in college. And the 1980s, the boomers were yuppies. And now the boomers are all retired and angry old people. And then and then that somehow is the template for the whole U.S. So I think the complicated answer is there's some truth to it because the boomers.
I mean, again, right here, he's just showing that like he is very siloed
right now as a generation.
Like if that's his impression of the overall United States, he's just really like he has such a limited view of the United States and probably the world at large.
People to be sort of functional longer, that now we're ruled by octogenarians who, basically should, when you see Nancy Pelosi up there, it's like, go with your grandchildren, go play with your grandchildren. Later, you don't have to be out there still, or Biden, it's like they can't let go because science in some ways has kept them going.
It hasn't changed it. It's been frustratingly slow. I mean, we've had some extension of life expectancy actually reversed the last few years with COVID and the opioid epidemic, et cetera. But no, I think the main dynamic was you never had a generation like the boomers. I'm Gen X.
Yeah.
There are millennials, and there's some generational sensibility you can tell, or silent generation. There's some generational story you can tell around other people. But the generation with a really strong identity is the boomers, and I think there were just so many of them. It was like in 1946, there were 20% more kids born than 1945 or something. It was like a step function up. And then you get the birth control pill in the early 60s, and you have fewer babies, and so it was just a lot of people.
Where does that put us, the Gen X?
I don't like where this is going.
We should be doing the thing right now, and I suppose in some cases we are, but
this is getting a little forced birthy right now.
I was thinking the other way.
What?
I was thinking I'm thinking it's going to go eugenics if it goes either way.
Okay.
In an odd way, we focus on boomers and then millennials or zoomers or whatever it is. Like we've sort of missed the people that are between say 40 and late 50s.
I have all these resentful Gen X things I can say, but I think there's probably some narrative where it's a smaller group and so there's a risk that you end up being sort of left out. I mean, I think there's some things where we did perfectly.
So wait, millennials are destroying Gen X?
Olympic gold medalists.
Is that what they're saying?
Remember when everybody said millennials were destroying Applebee's, but then you went and ate at Applebee's? You're like, all right, millennials, do your thing.
At a certain age.
No, Applebee's destroyed itself.
We had 28 years of boomer presidents. And I sometimes wonder whether we're ever going to have a Gen X president. Where it's not enough, and maybe you just skip to the
Barack Obama was just a few years too old to be Gen X.
Boomers are going to live forever, and they're always going to be presidents.
Also, Ron DeSantis is, I think, Generation X, and he has a pretty good chance of being the next president.
Yeah.
So, the Silicon Valley story in the 1990s was the internet companies were started by Gen X people and then somehow bought out, taken over by boomers. And that's sort of what happened to almost all the companies in the 90s. And then the boomers probably had a healthier relationship with the millennials, where the millennials were their kids, and so they were a little bit nicer to the millennials than they were to us. We were sort of more their companions.
Wait, no, I'm Gen X and my parents are boomers.
I'm a millennial and my parents are boomers.
We were the replacements.
When PayPal got acquired by eBay in 2002, and it was sort of this boomer company, and we were this Gen X company. One of my friends, David Sachs, said, if it would be a movie, it would be called Meet the Parents, where sort of this stodgy older people company was going to clearly not be fun when they took over. But actually, you need sort of a word for people who are half a generation older, not related to you, and are going to be a lot less nice to you than your parents.
Right.
And so
we do need a word for that.
So I think that it would be more like I don't know, Meg Whitman would be like more meet the evil young stepmother.
Right. So actually, since you mentioned Sachs, do you find it interesting if you were to look back 20 years ago and boy, Elon's doing everything he's doing now. You've done incredible things. Sachs is becoming an outspoken political voice, really anti.
Man.
I like how Dave said, Elon's doing everything he's doing now. You've done incredible things.
So this David Sachs,
I didn't miss that contrast there.
You probably don't know who David Sachs is, but like David Sachs, like, you know how like the SVB, the news about it dropped on a Friday, right?
Yeah.
And so this David Sachs guy spent the entire weekend on Twitter absolutely freaking out about the SVB collapse. Just freaking out. It was amazing. No notes. And so if by political voice he means absolutely freaking out about SVB, then yes.
War. He's one of the people leading that thing. That this crew of the PayPal mafia, so to speak, you guys are all still in the mix in a odd way. Is there something special about what was going on there 20 years ago? Or it's more than 20 years at this point.
It's always hard to tell the story. It was I don't think we've really appreciated the time, but yeah, it was a phenomenal group of people. There's always a sense where PayPal didn't really succeed in that big a way. It was a successful exit in 2002. It was $1.5 billion acquisition by eBay, but it didn't. We couldn't figure out how to run the business on our own. It made sense to combine it with eBay for all sorts of reasons. It was
wait. We didn't know how to run the business on our own.
That's what he said.
That's okay.
Very rational thing to do. And then,
did you feel that at the time that maybe you wanted to hold on a little bit longer or something like that?
It was hard to see a path to an independent business where eBay had the store and we were running the cash registers, and the people running the store were trying to figure out how to get their own cash register machines to work, and figured it out one time we'd be sort of out of business. And then there were ways you could gradually diversify away from eBay, but it took like a decade in practice. So I think the combination made a lot of sense, but then it somehow short-circuited the business, whereas so many of the other tech companies just scaled and scaled and scaled, which was like the Google history or something like that. And that would have been a far more successful version, but probably would have done less. If you'd gotten on board the Google rocket at the right time, you should have just never gotten off.
Right. When you see the frustrations that people have with these things, the sort of lack of trust in these things, is the government working to silence you on Twitter, or how is Google manipulating the search results, or all of these things? Do you also see those as inevitable problems that were going to happen with these things? The reason I ask is I heard you give a talk at NatCon. You gave the keynote speech last year. And one of the things you said was that nobody represents the individual at these big conferences. And I sort of think that's the same problem that we have with tech. Nobody represents the individual anymore. We just have these giant corporations or these giant tech
What did Sears Roebuck back in the day go out fucking representing the individual? Like, what the fuck is he talking about? Was the Woolworths Corporation out there championing the rights of the fucking individual? Like, what? I don't know what he means.
Fuck if I know, man.
make decisions. You cannot get somebody on the phone. You can't actually communicate as yourself.
Is that what he means? He's complaining about their customer service?
I mean, it does suck.
Yes, I agree. But if you pay for it, it doesn't.
Yeah, there probably are.
Yeah, Elon's trying to charge $8 for
all
it.
kinds of ways they have biases in that direction. You know, there's
like he just wants he's getting the milk for free and he wants the cow.
IT professor. Yeah. I always like to quote him on this, where he says that, you know, the Republicans are the party of business, but the Democrats discriminate. The Democrats are the party of big business, and there's sort of like a center left.
Look at you quoting a communist. There you
go.
Every now and again,
entirely wrong about things, or you know, but there's sort of a center left sensibility where,
where most of the country is.
Big businesses can be regulated; they'll follow all the rules. Small businesses, they often make a little bit more money by being in a gray area, not following the rules to the letter, and so there is probably just this.
Do you mean fraud, abuse, crimes?
That's political, regulatory.
Also, famously, big giant financial firms have never bent the rules. Venture firms have never ever just kind of tweaked the rules a little bit, tried to get away with anything. Famously.
That's very deep.
Were you shocked how obvious that became during COVID? I mean, where, Target could stay open for, the big box store, but the mom and pop that was selling the exact same thing next door got closed. That shows the bias right there.
No. That store didn't exist. Target killed that store in the 90s.
Yeah, you're right. Also, Target wasn't allowed to stay open. I remember being at Target and just like picking up items outside. It's not like you could just walk in there.
And to the extent that some stores do sell the same things as Target, like little boutiques that would sell, like if you want to buy clothes, but you don't want to buy from Target and you live in a city or whatever, you can find little boutiques and stuff. And they would do curbside just the same as Target would actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. The system just kind of eliminated a certain set of people.
Yes, I think it was, it was a dramatic shift in terms of the power of big relative to small businesses. And it probably, I don't know, I think in some ways COVID surfaced all these realities that had been there for a long time. Yeah. And this is the institutional center left establishment in this country. It's good with big business. It's very anti-small business.
The institutional center-left establishment in this country.
He just means essentially where not the majority, maybe the majority, the plurality of people probably are.
Your businesses during COVID and figuring out, were people going to work from home or just all of the nonsense that.
Well, yes, they did, Dave.
Did you try to give as much power to your employees and say, do what you got to do, or?
Well, most of the,
because even now, a lot of the people still don't want to come back. That's one of the problems that Elon's having.
Most of the tech companies were
Did you say that's one of the problems Elon has? Is that his employees don't want to come in and work around him?
Well, they don't want to come back to work, is I think what he's saying. But yeah, people realized they could do their jobs from home and they were saving money on gas. They were able to maybe not pay for childcare anymore, right? Because they were like, well, if I'm working from home and I'm not in meetings 24/7 while I'm at work, I can, my kids are, old enough to mostly take care of themselves. I'm just not trying to leave them at home all day without any supervision. So or I don't have to go out to lunch every day or even pack a lunch. I can just go make lunch, right? I can go into my kitchen and make lunch with the things I got at the store. There are all these good things about working from home. And once you give people things that they like, it's hard to take it back from them.
Yeah, and also, it was good for companies. Like, these companies like Twitter, for example, they had a lot of things to offer you in the like when you'd go into work. You know, I worked for several of these big companies. They had a lot of things to keep you there. You know, they had like these micro kitchens that had all sorts of foods. They would have like either catered food, or they'd have like chefs making the food on site.
Shit,
So
you could do
there were
your
a lot of things
laundry.
that were-
You could do your laundry at work at some of these places.
Oh yeah, yeah. There were laundry machines at LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there were a lot of things designed to keep you there, and that might be good in the short term for employees, and good in the short term for these companies. But there's a reason that these companies have so much churn. It's because they have this culture of like, there's no separation of work and life. Like, work is life, life is work. And that's not how it should be. And it's not what people do best at. So you started seeing these companies, you know, letting people work from home. And what happened to their productivity?
It stayed the same or went up.
Yeah, either it stayed the same or it went up. These companies realized like all this shit that we're doing to keep people in here isn't working. It's giving us a higher churn, and it's making our employees unhappy. So like, people got to work from home and they were just as productive or even more productive. And Elon refused to believe that. That was his problem. His problem wasn't that the employees didn't want to come in. His problem is that he refused to believe that making his employees come in was a bad thing.
And not
despite all of the evidence showing that it was.
And not for nothing too. Like when you were on the lower rungs or whatever, you were watching people on the higher rungs living their best life. Basically, the people as you got up higher into the organization, you were able to have a better work-life balance. You were able to work from home when you wanted to, or if you were higher up the food chain. You were able to just go on vacation. You were able to do all kind of shit. There are all kind of CEOs that probably never even went to the office.
Oh yeah, the average CEO probably does like maybe a few hours of work a week.
Right. But they're
Elon Musk doesn't do any.
You
can even tell because he's always tweeting.
But they're the idea person.
Sure.
The problem with that is that the company already exists. Somebody already had the idea, so the idea is there.
Well positioned to adapt to COVID, where you know if you're there were sort of ways you could do the remote work. You could work remotely, do things like that, and it seemingly didn't hurt the business too much. And then, of course, there was a way where COVID shifted a lot to the internet. So, sort of a lot of the tech companies in which I'm involved, you know, got a big temporary boost from COVID, even though you know maybe they actually got you know more bloated, less well managed in the last 2-3 years, and that's what I worry about.
Yeah.
So it was actually sort of a windfall for them, and then the question is just did they really take advantage of it, or did they get even more dysfunctional in various ways?
Do you think more people in the tech world, or maybe even in the political world, actually think like you to some degree, but because of the way the hive mind is, or the globalist movement, or whatever it is, they just sort of always go to that? But I think, you know, if you privately...
Wait, this is conspiracy theory thinking a fucking like 101. This is boilerplate, right? Do you remember when you talked to Madison Star Moon and she told you that most people agreed with her?
Yeah.
This is what Dave Rubin's doing that right now.
He's doing a Star Moon.
Yeah, he's saying that, I think more people agree with you. They're just afraid to say so. But that's what people who think the earth is flat say, or what people who believe in chemtrails say.
Yeah.
They're like, we're actually the majority. It's just people are afraid to speak out.
Yep.
These people about
but that's the whole, like, that's what conservatives believe, because conservatism is kind of a conspiracy.
Like, I don't believe that most people agree with me. Otherwise, if I believed most people agreed with me, I wouldn't have this particular show. That's for sure, right? Like, I mean, like I understand that most people don't agree with me.
I am far to the left of most people.
Right. But
most people in the United States.
I mean, like issue by issue, I bet a lot of it I'm pretty mainstream. Or at least willing to like moderate my position. Like if it means like if it means a good compromise that helps people, you know what I'm saying? But that doesn't mean that everybody agrees with me. That just means that like I hold many mainstream positions, and that's fine with me.
Yeah.
Real beliefs in the individual are in capitalism and these things.
Directionally, yes, but I think I always wonder if it actually works if you can't say it. So yes, surely it's almost the definition of political correctness that it distorts things, and that there are all sorts of people who
But Peter Thiel and his friends haven't shut up since COVID started.
are less politically correct than they appear to be, because political correctness is about appearances. And then the reality is always that people are going to think it's a little bit crazy. You know, there probably are a lot of parents who think the schools went very crazy. But then if you feel like you can't talk about it or articulate it, it's not going to be that well-formed a view at all. And so I think...
Or what if, like, check this out. What if you're a parent and you're like, I don't know if all this school closure thing is the right thing. But then you think to yourself, you know what? I'm a civil engineer. I'm not an educator. So I'm just going to kind of defer to what the educators are doing here because that's their job. And I don't think that they should come in and do my job as a civil engineer. What if you were just a little bit humble and that's why you don't open your mouth and fucking freak out at the school board or whatever every time you have some idea about the school? What if that's it? What if people are just reasonable? And we're like, well, let's see how this goes.
Correctness is real to the extent it just stops people from saying things. You don't actually get to a very considered non-politically correct opinion.
Right. It's interesting because that also then gets to...
I do agree with him to a certain extent that political correctness does stop some people from voicing their opinions. But those are the kind of opinions that you don't want people to voice.
Or, I mean, I don't really care if people say like politically incorrect things. And I think this comes back to one of the things that we talk about a lot around here is when he says to voice their opinion, he means people that agree with him voice their opinions and people like you and me shut the fuck up, right? That we don't make fun of them or criticize them or, call them an asshole. You know what I'm saying? I think that's kind of looming large here is this idea that like it's this one-way street version of free speech that a lot of people like Peter Thiel and a lot of the people, the more time goes on, the more I think that he has probably had more to do with propping up the so-called intellectual dark web than we're ever going to know. And that's like one of the main things that the people on this, that we cover on this say. Sam Harris says it, right? He's like, oh, well, you can't really say what you want. And as he's speaking to millions of fucking people on a podcast, it's like, well, you can, you just don't like it when Kara Swisher or Ezra Klein or somebody claps back at you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the same like sort of what he's saying here. I mean, I'm here for it, baby. I fucking love it when somebody way more popular than me fucking quote tweets me and tries to send their army of dorks after me on Twitter. Fuck yeah. Because you know what? I could turn off Twitter if I don't like what people are saying to me.
Well, like the kind of thing I was getting at was like, the idea of political correctness might make, someone who works for a very litigious company hold their tongue when talking about their own ideas of, let's say, race or gender. They might not want to get fired over that.
Right.
Which good. Because if you have ideas that are so shitty that like even some company whose only goal is profit doesn't even want you to say them in public, you shouldn't.
And it's not necessarily like the company does it out of altruism. They do it out of, we don't want this fucking hassle. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, we don't want our employees saying the N-word on on like the internet.
Or we don't want
It's a bad look on us.
Right. You're the vice president of marketing. Why are you out there talking about race and IQ on Twitter? Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Like, and I guess we're at about an hour and a half, so this is as good a place to stop this as any. We are going to watch the rest of this during the post game. This is a different conversation. Well, usually when we've watched Peter Thiel, it's been him giving a talk, and he's leaned really hard into this idea that technology hasn't really moved forward. They kind of touched on that, but they didn't spend a lot of time on that. This is more about like, why didn't everyone listen to me? Wah. I think that's what he's doing here.
Yeah. He did, like you said, he did touch just very slightly on that idea. But I think Dave Rubin was pushing him towards specific points. And I really felt like Dave Rubin tried really hard to get Peter Thiel to agree with everything he was saying. And Peter Thiel was just like, yeah, okay, fine, I'll agree.
Well, I mean, like this is like, even when you consider the amount of power that Peter Thiel has and the ways in which he has sort of influenced our society over the last 30 years, not really a lot of substance has been in this, like has happened in this conversation, right? It's been a lot of like a little bit of aggrievement, like that people are like unfair to them, and at the end here it was like this delusional notion sort of that people like agree with what they're saying and are just afraid to say so. But the problem with that is if you hold the majority view, or if you hold a view that's fairly popular, or the plurality view on most ideas, or most like policy ideas, or just most sort of societal concepts, the clapback isn't really going to be that strong.
Yeah.
And
I'm surprised we didn't hear the tried and true, I've heard from hundreds of people that they agree with me, they just can't say it.
To Thiel's credit, he doesn't tend to, I don't see him doing that.
I bet Rubin does, though.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if he can even conceptualize the idea of hundreds. Anyway, I guess that's the pod. HK, would you like to read us out?
Yeah.
Like we have a script.
Thank you for
like
joining
you're
us.
reading something.
We do this show. What's that?
Like you're actually reading something.
Yeah, I'll pretend to read it. Thank you for joining us. We do this show every Wednesday at 7 p.m. That's Pacific time on twitch.tv/Echoplex Media. If you would like to help us out, you can donate to us at patreon.com/Echoplex. Stick around if you're listening live for the red light after the outro. This is Boomers by Periscope.
Will you recall
Did you know Echoplex has a 24-hour stream? That's right. Check out our 24/7 music stream at echoplexmedia.com/live or at eplex.xyz. Our huge self-submitted local music library plays the best tunes the Bay Area has to offer, and commercial free, well, except for ours, and even by request. Check out the player on echoplexmedia.com or at eplex.xyz. Bookmark it and enjoy it all day. Echoplex is very supportive of our local music scene, and we hope you enjoy the soundtrack they've so graciously sent in for us to play on our network. If you like who you hear, please go check them out. The names of the artists are displayed on the player at echoplexmedia.com and at eplex.xyz.